Welcome to the CT Educator Podcast. I am your host, Karina Hogan. I am a registered CT technologist with 20 years of experience and knowledge. I help new CT technologists level up their CT training so that you can become a successful technologist. I'm also a mom and committed to sharing my knowledge and expertise to help you build your confidence, know the CT basics so that you can deliver quality patient care. So let's get into it. Hello, wonderful technologists. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh yeah, it is nice and warm here. Oh, I just love summer. Love it. Having more time because my kids are finally out of school. And I am just super excited about some great things that are coming for the CT Educator. Got new coaching program, this 3 live challenge on how to be the go-to CT tech. So make sure you check out the show notes to get in on all that information, get the 411 and get your butt in that challenge. It's going to be live and I'm going to be teaching you some shit. So come on over and make sure that you get in on that challenge, okay? So it's going to be great and I'm super excited about it. So in today's episode, we're going to continue with the segments because I know I haven't done one in a while on CT trauma stories. So make sure you check out the episode before where I talk about CT scan stories about the violent patient in CT because that is a good one. So in today's episode, CT trauma stories, we're going to talk about the flying baby. So this is a very interesting case. This case probably happened, I want to say about 6 months ago. And it's a very devastating just story. And it really hurts my heart because, I am a mom and I do have young kids. And it really hits home with me when it comes to things like this. And these are things that we see every single day. So kind of the backstory on this trauma story is it was a car accident that happened on one of the major expressways here in the city of Chicago. And it was a family of, I want to say like 4 or 5. There was like mom and dad, uncle, and 2 young kids in the car. So the backstory is that they were traveling on this expressway. I think they were coming home from like a birthday party or some kind of event, and they were hit by a drunk driver on the passenger side, where the youngest of the children plus the mom was sitting. So the impact was harder on the passenger side. From what we got as far as the clinical history is that the baby was strapped into the car seat. However, the impact was so great that the car seat was ejected out of the vehicle with the baby in it. So pretty devastating. So Chicago Fire and EMS brings everybody into the hospital. It seems that dad was doing okay. And mom was critical in the ICU. So was baby. So we had to scan both, like everybody in the entire family. So it was the other older brother, I believe, and then uncle. He had some pretty serious injuries, but he was going to make it, no problem. Mom had some pretty severe critical injuries, and so did baby. Well, come to find out, we ended up scanning the baby probably 6 hours after, because there was a huge hemorrhage, in the brain. Mom had all these fractures and internal injuries, so did baby. So we ended up doing another scan because when they do their neuro checks, it was just the pupils were just dilated and fixed. And they said, something is wrong. This is getting bigger probably. So baby comes back down. We rescan. We had to rescan mom. Ultimately, what ended up happening is that mom and baby expired and did not make it. Very, very sad. It's one of those cases that really haunts you because you see this baby that just has all these internal injuries, that has just all this going on. And because this person who was driving drunk behind the wheel decided that he was going to cut them off on a major expressway and ended up slamming into their car on the passenger side. I know it's very gruesome. It's one of those just really heartbreaking stories that just really eat at you and just haunt you for like the rest of your career until even after you retire, it'll haunt you forever. So we get the news, and I believe they ended up doing like a donor walk for mom and baby for whatever organs could be donated to, people who are waiting for organs. So they did a huge walk for them. It was very, very sad to see because it is something so simple where you are coming home from an event, and it was a family event. And to know that two of those family members that were in the car when you're trying to get home safely just aren't going to come home with you. And that's that. And it's really, really sad. And it's one of those things that hit home because we ended up having to rescan the uncle, and they did not tell the uncle that his nephew and then his sister passed away, which I was just floored on how they didn't tell him. But a lot of times when they're sitting up in the ICU, it's a tough thing to be telling family, especially when they're sick and they're critical. Oh, well, guess what? Your family member didn't make it. But I know eventually after he got better and he was able to get out of the ICU, they did inform him and did let him know that, the sister and the nephew did pass away, which was very sad for that family, just really sad. And come to find out, the person that hit them, that was under the influence, I believe, if the story is right, that he was 4 times the legal limit in the state of Illinois of, alcohol. So we all know alcohol is legal, but it's very deadly, especially when you get behind the wheel of a car, a motorcycle. I mean, we see it every day when it comes to traumas on how alcohol affects the outcome when you are irresponsible, right? I mean, I could tell you, my mother got hit by a drunk driver many, many years ago. I want to say it was like 40 plus years ago when I was, a teenager, probably even more than that. And she was simply getting off of work, coming home to take me and my sister to school. She got hit by a drunk driver and totaled the entire car and this guy had like 6 or 7 DUIs and and lost his license. So now he will never drive a car ever again because people seem to think that, oh, driving is a right. No, driving is a privilege. It's a privilege. And it's a privilege that a judge can strip away from you. Okay. So these are some just really gut wrenching stories. And I know I have more than one story like this, but this one really just hit the core because I have young kids and I'm a mom. My youngest daughter is 9. I have a 12-year-old, and then I have a 16-year-old. So my 16-year-old seems to think that, oh, yeah, I want to drive. No, you're not responsible. You're not responsible enough because it's incidences like this where I go to work every day and I see patients like this that makes me very hesitant for her to get behind the wheel of a car, especially at 16 years old. Okay. Because people are ridiculous out there. And we see it every day where we're scanning them from head to toe, a bunch of broken bones, collapsed lungs, brain bleeds, fractured necks where they're paralyzed and they can't walk, and people need to take more responsibility, right? So that is my CT trauma story for this week. It is a really just sad, heart-wrenching story. And it's one of those things that we never want to see in our career, but unfortunately we do. And it's those cases that just haunt us forever. Okay. So, hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. As always, if you have an interesting CT story that you want to share, please send me an email. Everything will be in the show notes. If you want to come on to the podcast as a guest, there is a link to a form. You can fill it out. I'll get back to you in 48 to 72 hours, and we can talk about all the CT things, which I will be bringing on some guests onto the podcast. So that is exciting for the summer. So we are going to chalk it up with some guests. So the catheter jockeys better get ready. And come to my 3-day live challenge on how to be the go-to CT tech. Make sure you check out the links. I'm kicking it off for my awesome 6-month coaching program that I am going to be doing, where I will coach you and mentor you on all the CT things to get you to be a badass, freaking successful CT technologist. So as always, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, give a 5-star review because it helps support the show. And I can just continue to bring you some awesome stories and awesome content. So make sure you follow on Instagram too, because I'll post a lot of reels and a lot of stuff talking about all the CT things. Follow along on Facebook on the CT Educator page also as well. So thank you so much for listening. I will chat with you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you would like to share your CT experience, have an interesting story to share, or need help in your CT training, please email me your questions at contact@thecteducator.com. Follow along on Instagram at the CT Educator, also on Facebook at the CT Educator. Don't forget to like, share, leave a 5-star review, as this will help support the show and it'll reach all of you that need guidance. Thank you for listening and happy scanning.